Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another week 10 of the Between the Tackles podcast. I'm Joe, Burg and Manish alongside as well as always. We were just talking about it after, right before we wanted to kick off the cast. It's been we're recording on trade deadline day. So the trade deadline happened less than 4 hours ago, right before we hit record. So we have a lot to talk about. But first things first, let's put football to the side. And let's talk to our friends here. Let's talk about our friends. How are my friends this fine evening?
I'm fantastic seeing that bucket hat on you again. This different style. I'm loving seeing it. Love the Patriots logo on it. So you just made my night by seeing that.
Yeah, dude, this is one of Kayla and I's, I don't want to say first dates, but first legit date, dude. She bought me Patriots tickets to that. Remember that Giants game where Chase Winovich scored a touchdown on a blocked punt?
Yeah.
Dude, I was at that, dude. It was the most shitty. There we go. 59, it's not even a minute. A crappy, cold, Thursday night game, dude. Kayla's all right, what time do we need to leave your house in Quincy? I was like, dude, we need to leave 3 hours before the game. I'm trying to be in the parking lot 2 hours. This is not something. It's okay, no problem. This girl shows up to my house 90 minutes before the effing game starts. I'm like, dude, we had to be on Route 1 40 minutes ago. So long story short, dude, we're walking up the steps to the seats. And I hear the crowd roar. It goes absolutely insane. We walk up there. The team's celebrating in the end zone that we're sitting behind right in front of us. Only touchdown, only point scored on that end of the field the entire effing game, dude. It was a 17-10 or 23-10 game. But, yeah, that's what this bucket hat was from, was going to that game. Anyway, enough about me. What's up, Manish?
It's actually funny. Along those lines, I've been to every stadium, every NFL stadium in the league, and Gillette is by far the most annoying to get to. I would always stay overnight in Hartford and, take Route 1 up.
That is the worst drive.
Oh. And I always felt, it's funny, you're talking about 90 minutes before the game. If I didn't get into Gillette for a 1 o'clock game, if I didn't get in by 9:45, maybe 10 at the latest, it would double my commute time. It was the most annoying traffic pattern that I've ever seen. And again, I've been to every city that's got an NFL team, and they're by far, there's not even a close second in terms of logjam. Maybe the Raiders, when they were playing in Oakland, that was such a poorly designed traffic pattern. But the Patriots, I always enjoyed the fact that it was a relatively short commute from where I lived, but the fact that you'd have to get there so early in order to avoid this, one lane into the stadium, which still I don't really understand. I mean, obviously, look, there's got to be reasons for why they decided to put it where they put it, but in terms of accessibility, it was so brutal.
One way in, one way out.
Yeah.
Dude, that's like the football team now, dude. You got to be a little intimidating. They talk about the bus coming over the hill and seeing the giant Gillette Stadium rise up out of a rural neighborhood. But enough about the Patriots. They were disappointing today. Did not make a single move. Burge and I crying about that, but you guys don't want to hear that. I'm gonna kick it off, dude. Sauce Gardner out of nowhere to the Colts for 2 first-round picks and Adonai Mitchell. The picks are in 2026, 2027. And Adonai Mitchell, who I think he didn't have a huge fumble early in the season on for the Colts, and then got relegated to wide receiver 9 or something. I don't, just ringing a bell for me. But yeah, Sauce Gardner. I know you talked about him at the beginning of the year, Manish. I don't know if you saw this coming, but you definitely saw displeasure with within the fan base in Sauce's play this year.
Yeah, entering the season, I think I call him the most overrated player in the NFL, certainly on the defensive side. There's 2 different ways to look at it. First and foremost, it is a new general manager's dream to be able to do what Darren Muji did today. He inherited these players. He's not linked to them in any way. He didn't draft them. So to get 2 first-round picks for a solid cornerback, but not somebody who I think is an exceptional player, his resume notwithstanding, with the 2 first-team All-Pros, I thought that was a really good move for the Jets. Now, as I've always believed, draft picks represent hope, and more times than not, those draft picks represent false hope. They don't actually turn into the players that you hope that they would. But that was only half of the equation for the Jets. They also traded Quinnen Williams, which I would not have done, but they got a fairly good return. A second-round pick in 2026, a first-round pick the year after. So they're really loading up for 2026, 2027, and beyond. It's interesting just getting the initial reactions from the Jets fan base. There's a school of thought that says, wow, we've got all these draft picks, but you don't have to go that far back in time to see a 2-year span when the Jets had 5 first-round draft picks. That was 2021 and 2022. Zach Wilson, AJT, Elijah Vera Tucker, they were 2 first-round picks, 2 top 15 picks. Clearly, neither one of those guys worked out, one because he probably just wasn't a good player, the other due to injury. And then the following year was the Sauce Gardner, Garrett Wilson, Jermaine Johnson year where they also traded up to get Breece Hall early in the second round. None of that has translated into winning. So on paper, if you're Darren Muji, I think it makes a lot of sense. You're not going to win this year, obviously. In all likelihood, you're going to go down a similar road in 2026. So, the upshot is that you've got all these lottery picks. The real downside, the practical side, is that the Jets may be a bottom feeder for at least 2 more years, and that's coming from a team that hasn't made the playoffs since 2010. So how much longer are they going to be continuing this rebuild?
It's interesting you bring all that up about them just having this span of 5 draft picks in 2 years. It's like the ever long rebuild that they're going through. That being said, it was pretty clear that this edition of the Jets, with Sauce Gardner, with even Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall, who was not traded today, despite the fact that he wanted out an hour before the trade deadline after these moves went on. It didn't work. They didn't make the playoffs, like you said, Manish, and start over again. That's what they're doing. And I really I'm not as against them training Quentin Williams as you both have indicated in our group chat, but you got a new general manager, you got a new head coach. Start from scratch. You do give the fan base hope, like you said, Manish. But at the end of the day, and we were talking about this, Joe, with your fantasy stuff when we were talking about dynasty and selling stars for draft picks. It's like half the battle is getting those picks. The other half, the more important half, is hitting on the draft picks, and you have to hit on the draft picks for it to be worth it. So time will tell on that for the Jets. But as it sits today on November 4th. I think they did the right thing for resetting their franchise.
I agree. I totally, dude. I think for the first time ever, I'm like, wow, the Jets. I even though it is trading like known commodities for hope, and hope is always like like a brighter future is always more enticing than whatever you're going through right now. Especially what the hell the Jets are going through the last decade and a half. But do you guys remember the conversation we had about Caleb Williams and Cam Ward after they fired what's his name in Tennessee? And we talked about having a lame duck head coach, getting the number 1 pick, drafting your quarterback, and then altering the course of that quarterback's career with instability going forward. So I guess the question I propose to you guys, do these 2 moves for the Jets, do they indicate a warmer or cooler seat for Aaron Glenn?
Well, I don't think that Aaron Glenn was going to get fired regardless. Barring an 0-17 season, which it's extremely difficult to do. So I don't think that was really ever on the table. And then when you bring in the financial ramifications of firing a head coach after 1 year, paying off the rest of his deal, and then paying big money for the next head coach, I'm pretty certain that Woody Johnson wasn't really ever considering that. So in terms of Aaron Glenn's immediate future, if you're going to do this, you're doing this as a group decision. It's not just a Darren Mucci decision. Obviously, ownership's involved, but this is also an Aaron Glenn decision. So if you're Woody Johnson, you understand if you're going to go this route and trade away 2 of your best players and really start from scratch, especially from the defensive side, then Aaron Glenn's going to have somewhat of a longer leash unless something really odd happens over the remainder of this season. I would anticipate that the Jets would be another, bad team in 2026, maybe even in 2027. So I don't think Aaron Glenn's going anywhere after this season. After the 2026 season, depending on how things unfold, that remains to be seen. But you can't realistically expect much from the Jets. What you can expect is that they will draft a quarterback in 2026. You hear draft pundits talk about how potentially great the 2027 quarterback class is. That's just too far in advance. Teams do not look that far in advance. They're looking year to year. They will draft a quarterback this offseason, and you're going to have to give that quarterback time, which means, in essence, you have to give Aaron Glenn time unless things completely fall off the rails. I wouldn't be surprised, however, if they made a change at the offensive coordinator position sooner rather than later. But I think that the head coach is secure at least for a couple years, unless something, again, goes completely off the rails. I think that the more disconcerting part of this is that we're all in agreement that when you look at these trades individually, on paper, it looks like the Jets got a solid return or a great return, depending on your perspective. But this has been going on, as you said, Joe, for a decade and a half. New general manager comes in, trades away talented young player, gets draft picks, fans rejoice and think about what could be. The draft picks don't pan out. GM gets fired. New general manager, head coach come in, and then rinse and repeat. This has been going on now for almost 2 decades. So what gives a Jet fan hope that this is going to be different? If I were a Jet fan, which thankfully I'm not, I would be skeptical. But if you're looking at it from the GM and the head coach's perspective, in this case, I think they made wise, shrewd decisions. I would have kept Quinn Williams, but again, you're not going to complain about getting a first and a second in return for a great player in Quinn Williams. Whereas I still don't quite understand how they get 2 first-round picks for a very good cornerback, not a great cornerback. But hats off to the new GM for pulling that off.
Eric, we had a former Patriot change teams this weekend, today as well.
We certainly did. Jacoby Myers traded from the Las Vegas Raiders to the Jaguars for a 4th and a 6th round pick. The Jaguars definitely could have used another receiver down there to go along with what they have, especially after Travis Hunter was injured. Seems like it's a bit of a high price for Jacoby Myers. I mean, he's been wanting out of Las Vegas since the beginning of the year and there was no secret about that. Obviously, the Raiders, we know what they are. They stink. Geno Smith stinks. I like the move for the Jaguars. I mean, we just a few weeks ago had them up in our power rankings before they had a couple of losses in there. So, I mean, anything to help out that offense down there. I think Jacoby Myers is a player that when he left New England, I don't think any of us New England fans were happy about it. I think that for what he was paid in Las Vegas, we wish Bill Belichick at the time had done it here, especially given his rapport with Mac Jones at the time when Myers left. So I think he's a solid receiver. The price was a little high. I'm glad the Patriots didn't make a move to bring him back at that price, but I think he's going to fit in well with the Jaguars.
Yeah, dude, the Jaguars do this. This is, I don't know. Sometimes it's just maddening. Like this team, like asset management here. Like, dude, you've gotten so many different styles and combinations of receivers for Trevor Lawrence, and like nothing is working. Like, I don't know what it is. It's like, you ever like have that like family member, or you may have like had it yourself, like where they have this like really, really nice classic car. It looks nice when it runs. It sounds awesome. You can hear it coming down the streets. It shakes the walls when they turn it on in the garage. But you get to drive in it like one time a year, and it's always in the shop, and that something's always going wrong, and your Uncle Stormy is like always working on it. That was a deep cut. But like that is what Trevor Lawrence is to me. No mixture of new carburetor, old timing belt, new tires, bad exhaust. Like, no combination is working with Trevor Lawrence. So giving up a 4th and a 6th round pick for like, dude, Joker, like Manish, that was a great joke today. Jag, dude, he's he's not a difference maker. He's a guy that turns around at 5 yards and catches the ball. He knows where the soft spots in the zone are. He turns around and catches the ball. He's not he's not a playmaker. He's not a number one wide receiver. And I just don't like, sometimes it's just maddening. Be like, okay, like it's not working with like Brian Thomas Jr. and like, who's the guy they signed from, the guy they gave 80 million. Was it Christian Kirks or Zay Jones? One of those idiots. They gave like 80
years ago.
Yeah, gave $80 million to that guy. Now they're trading a fourth round pick for Jacoby. I don't know. It's just sometimes you just look at these deals and it's just like, what does this do? What does this do for anyone? It just helps Jacoby Myers be happy at work, which I love, dude. I'm a great, happy, positive work environment guy. I'm a millennial. My mom coddled me until I was in my mid-20s. I understand, dude. I get it. But like, some of these deals make no effing sense to me.
Well, a lot of it, Joe, is where's the team right now? And we just talked about the Sauce trade, and we all talked about it and viewed it through the Jets lens. On the flip side, if you look at where the Colts are, you know, they're 7-2. They think they can make a legitimate deep playoff run, and so maybe they overpay a little bit. Several years back, Seattle felt the exact same way when they gave up 2 first-round picks to the Jets for Jamal Adams. They thought that he was the missing piece. The Colts feel similarly to Sauce Gardner. And for, you know, as much as Trevor Lawrence has struggled, as you mentioned, they still are 5-3, you know, squarely in the playoff hunt. And if they feel like they need somebody opposite of Brian Thomas because Travis Hunter is injured right now, then you do give up a little bit more. So you do really have to kind of look at where each team in the deal is coming from. Sometimes, ironically, the desperate team is the actual better team, but they feel like they need that extra piece right now to either make a deep playoff run or to sneak into the playoffs.
I guess it's kind of make or break year for Trevor Lawrence, so they're trying to give him as much as they can to make sure that they're giving him the most legitimate shake to make an educated decision. Who else we got on the trade block there, Burge?
Rashid Shaheed. I always get tongue twisted when I say that guy's name. Traded to the Seahawks for 4th and a 5th. Why don't you give your initial thoughts on this one, Joe?
I am basically Al Davis when it comes to scouting the wide receiver position. If you run really fast, I will give you whatever you want. Yeah, and he is just one of those guys where it's just like they're just impressive athletes. I think this is where Shaheed is here. Mm-hmm. We had a lot of talk about Sam Darnold in the group chat today, but I think giving quarterbacks like that more options and having the defense to think about more things, I think is just I think it's just a no-brainer. This isn't one of the – I didn't think this is one of those. I think Shaheed, for basically the same package as Myers, is an insanely better deal. Coming from – I don't want to call it a desperate team, but coming from a team that's definitely in win now like the Seahawks are. Like, I love this deal for the Seahawks. I think Shaheed has a ton of upside. Giving up a 4th and a 5th round pick right now for a win-now team with a quarterback who's in prime years, big money years, giving up a young, controllable getting a young, controllable wide receiver for a 4th and 5th round pick, I think is a no-brainer.
I tend to agree with you. I mean, we've seen flashes of Shaheed all over the place with how much of a deep threat he is. But I mean, the Patriots saw it on the first play of the game when they played the Saints, where he just blew by everybody. And
corner blitz play 1. Oh my God. Anyway,
and he's going to be an awesome compliment to have with JSN up there for Sam Darnold to throw to. I think I'm 100% in your camp with this, where it seemed like a no-brainer for the Seahawks to add him to that mix.
Wet blanket to throw, Manish, or you like this one?
No, I mean, I don't know if I would have given him a 4th and a 5th, but, like you guys said, he does stretch the field. He does give a veteran presence opposite of JSN for Sam Darnold. I'm curious how the second half unfolds for JSN because it's almost perfect to this point. I think he's on pace for over 2,000 yards, which would obviously be an NFL record. So I'm curious how defenses will adjust. Having a guy like Shaheed opposite him will only make things easier, not only for Sam Darnold, but for JSN as well.
Yeah, I'm trying to – well, how much does Shaheed make?
It's a great question. I don't know off the top of my head. I'll find out in a second.
Google filibuster, say something funny. Dude, $4 million, dude. I don't know. That's
a no-brainer.
I feel like that's a good deal. Another good deal that I liked, that a kind of player that I feel like was a foregone conclusion. I'll throw this right back to you, Manish, because this was in your backyard. Jalen Phillips to the Eagles for a 3rd round pick. Your thoughts, questions, concerns, comments?
Yeah, well, this has got Vic Fangio's fingerprints all over it. He obviously played for Fangio in Miami, and they would not have made this deal if Fangio didn't sign off on it. When you consider that Phillips has had two significant injuries now, ACL and Achilles. It's almost like the two worst injuries you could have for someone whose game is predicated on speed, and as an edge rusher, that's what it is with Phillips. But they feel confident in his medical history, and I think most importantly, they feel confident. When I say they, I mean Howie Roseman feels confident that Vic Fangio will use him in the right way. Because if you guys remember, backtrack a year ago when the Jets' largest free agent signing of the offseason was Bryce Huff, and he just was a non-factor, not because he can't play, because you're clearly seeing in San Francisco this year that he still can play, but he just did not fit into Vic Fangio's defensive scheme. And when you don't fit into Fangio's scheme, he will marginalize you. I think that was evident last year. That won't be the case with Phillips. Fangio feels comfortable with him. And again, if he is healthy, it's a big if. If he can stay healthy, that's even a bigger if. But if he's on the field, I think he will help an Eagles pass rush that has been virtually non-existent all season. Nolan Smith, the promising young player, has been injured. Jalix Hunt, second-year player, it hasn't worked out for him in his second year, and so much so that they had to bring back Brandon Graham after Zadarius Smith signed briefly before he retired. So they needed a lot of help on the edge, and I think Phillips, when healthy, can provide that for them.
Burge, what do you think, bud?
Yeah, I think what the Eagles have done at this trade deadline to help their defense, slam dunk. I mean, getting Michael Carter and taking a flyer on Jair Alexander from the Ravens. I mean, we've been kind of dumping on the Eagles defense. I mean, mainly Manish has, but dumping on the Eagles defense for being sieves, and adding secondary help along with the edge rush help from Jalen Phillips. I mean, you can't ask for a better deadline. It's just going to be a matter of wait and see if it works out for him.
Yeah, and the Michael Carter trade earlier was an interesting one because Michael Carter, earlier in his career when he was healthy, was pretty solid for the Jets. He'd been banged up, so health is a concern. From an Eagles perspective, I'm very interested to see what Fangio does with Cooper DeJean, because last year Cooper DeJean was one of the top handful of slot corners in the NFL, and that's where Michael Carter plays. So I'm curious as to how both of those guys will figure in the mix in Fangio's scheme the second half of the season.
Well, if there's one defensive coordinator there you could probably have some confidence in to figure it out, would be Fangio, right? So, couple house cleaning items on this trade deadline. Jermont Jones to the Ravens for a conditional fifth. That could become a fourth if it's the Ravens make the playoffs and something else. I had it written down. I can't read what I wrote. We're gonna move on. Logan Wilson, another trade to the Cowboys for a 7th-round pick. Dude's having trouble staying on the field, but we were talking before. I think it was like over 100 tackles in 11 games last year, something crazy like that. But so I think the Cowboys are finally. I think Jerry's kind of realizing that this might be the end for a couple pieces on that team, and I think to keep a couple pieces like Pickens happy, you probably want to add to make it look like you're at least going for it to try to keep everybody on the reservation. Any thoughts, comments, concerns about the trade deadline, boys, before we move on here?
A couple things. I'm a little surprised that Trey Hendrickson didn't get moved. I know it's a big contract that he wants. He's an older player, but clearly the Bengals, in my estimation, clearly the Bengals aren't going anywhere as long as his defense is as poor as it is. And yeah, your defense will be weaker if Hendrickson were gone, but I just don't think this is the year for Cincinnati. And as you said, Burge, earlier, I'm really surprised Breece Hall did not get traded. He's a guy who the Jets will not re-sign in the offseason. They will not tag him. I think the franchise number for running backs this year was $13.5 million. So whatever it is for 2026, it'll be cost prohibitive for them. They're going to move off of him. Reportedly, they wanted a 3rd-round pick. I understand, because when you're talking about compensatory picks, it could wind up being a 3rd-round pick, not in 2026. If and when he walks, it would be in 2027. But I understand the logic there. But if you could have gotten a 4th in 2025 or 2026 instead of a 3rd potentially in 2027. I would have just taken the pick sooner rather than later, but pretty surprising that they didn't move him, just given the fact that they're not going anywhere. He's got a short life as a running back, and they were clearly in fire sale mode, as evidenced by what happened earlier with the other two players.
The one thing that I'm going to bring up, obviously, we're Patriots fans. Two of us are here. The Patriots standing pat on deadline day. I was a little surprised by that. I didn't expect any splashes from the Patriots this year. Don't want to jeopardize, the rebuild just because they're a little bit ahead of schedule based on their record this season. I did expect them to add or recoup some of the depth that they gave up last week when they traded Kyle Duggar to the Steelers and Keon White to the 49ers. They clearly needed some depth at edge rusher, as well as potentially a running back, simply because, Ramondre Stevenson's been dinged up. They already lost Antonio Gibson for the season. And right now it's Henderson, Terrell Jennings, and I think Dearness Johnson is the one that they picked up for their practice squad. So kind of surprised that they didn't do anything there to bolster their depth, because I heard an interesting thing from Greg Bedard on the radio today, a Boston Sports Journal, comparing them to what the Commanders were last year, where the Commanders were ahead of schedule. They kind of moved their chips in a little bit when they went out and they got Marshawn Lattimore and Larmany Tunsil to bolster their offensive line, and it's kind of backfired a little bit on them now. This year, their record is bad, their quarterback's hurt, and they've kind of depleted a little bit of their draft capital. So I guess, depending on how you look at it, I'm glad they didn't do what the Commanders did last year. However, I did expect them to at least pick up a depth piece or two to replace what they gave up.
Yeah, I don't know. Part of me is always you gotta asset manage. You gotta make sure you're not overextending. And part of me is like lightning in the bottle. You didn't think you'd be in this position. Sometimes your plan changes because of the position you put yourself in. I don't know. I bounce back and forth between those two. But
same place.
All right, Burge, break out the spreadsheet, break out the calculators, hurt my feelings one more time.
Well, I'm gonna take a page out of your book, Joe, here, and recap my picks for the week
DJ
here.
Khaled. Closer to the mic. There you go.
Just picture Drake.
I have no idea what you're playing.
That was Everybody Hurts.
Everybody Hurts.
Oh, okay. I could barely hear that.
Really?
Yes.
I had it right next to the mic on that. Man, that's a fail on my part then. I tried to be like Joe. I guess I'm not cool enough. But just picture Dwight Schrute in the office when he's in his, what has he got, a Camaro, and he's just sitting there and he's blasting it. Everybody Hurts. That was me on Sunday as my lock went up in absolute flames, courtesy of Daniel Jones and the Colts. So last week, I'll just to recap where we sit currently. I'm at 14-13, Joe 11-16, Manish 10-16-1.
Woo! But I was 2-1 last week.
Yes, you were.
Fucking sinking like a rock, dude.
Manish 2-1 last week. Joe and I both 1-2 for the week last week. So Manish climbs back into the winners column after a couple of bad weeks there. So see if he can turn in some momentum there. Now, we talked a little bit how we want to do this. Do we want to go 1-1-1-1 on this, or do we want to just have me go off the top and nail mine here?
I like running through everybody's picks at the same time. I feel like going back and forth sometimes gets a little jumbled.
We got a couple of interesting matchups this week. That's why I bring that up. Manish and I going head to head a little bit here. So I'll take it off the top. My first pick, I'm sticking with my New England Patriots as the underdogs in Tampa. Big game, big test for the New England Patriots this year, going up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on the road. Really their second legitimate test for this season after Buffalo. They aced that first one. Let's hope that they could do it again. I mean, the Patriots are coming off a squeaker of a win against Atlanta, thanks to John Parker Romo missing the extra point. We had a nice little debate about that in the group chat. We don't need to go into that further here. Despite the fact that Drake May turned the ball over a couple of times, still passed for 260 yards and a couple of touchdowns against what was statistically the best pass defense yards-wise going into this game in the Atlanta Falcons. Tampa, we'll talk a little bit about Tampa. They're still banged up. You get some guys that are still out. We're not sure about Bucky Irving's status as it sits today as we record. They are coming off a bye week, so there was a chance that he's going to play. They already lost Mike Evans for the season, and Tampa's been that team. I know we've talked a lot about them on the podcast this year. They've won a lot of squeakers at the end of the game, last minute wins. I want to say, what was it, like 4 in a row where they won on like at the last second of the game, something like that. But I really like what New England's doing this year. Obviously, albeit biased a little bit here, but call me crazy, and this might again be biased. I'm taking the coach quarterback combo of May and Vrabel over Bowles and Mayfield at this point. And I know Manish is sitting over there. He's got a little grin on his face, probably going to disagree with that take, but I like what they're doing. May, even despite having a really bad second half of that game, found a way for the team to win, and we haven't seen that here in New England in a while. So I'm going to take the Patriots on the road as the underdogs in this one. My second, I'm going with another underdog, and it's going to be taking Manish's Eagles plus 2.5 against the Green Bay Packers. Green Bay lost a pretty significant piece of their offense in their game last week, and Tucker Kraft lost him for the season due to an ACL. They got to replace his production. Well, I'm sure we're going to talk about that when we get to some sleeper talk later in the podcast here. Green Bay's run defense was not good against the Panthers. They gave up 130 yards to Rico Dowdle, a couple of touchdowns there. Philly's coming off a game where they had 200-yard rushers with Barkley and Tank Bigsby. I don't expect that performance to replicate, but Philly's been one of those teams this year that they've been up and down in the run game. I think that may have found something that's working for them. And then obviously add in their defensive acquisitions at the trade deadline. Did you guys see that throw by Jordan Love to the Panthers in that game where he threw it to absolutely nobody? It might have been one of the worst throws that I've seen in a long time in the NFL. Green Bay was very much held in check against the Panthers. I like the Eagles, who are a better team, to do that again to Green Bay. So give me them plus 2.5. And my lock of the week this week, I'm going with the Chargers -3. I'm picking against the Steelers again. They screwed me in my lock last week. This is redemption week for me in the lock category, picking against the Steelers. I am still not sold after Daniel Jones decided to turn back into the Daniel Jones that we remembered from his previous time with those 3 god-awful interceptions in that game. For me, the Steelers still got to prove again that their defense is not fraudulent. They were very good against Indianapolis. I'll take the L on that one, but I don't expect that to continue. The Chargers, I am still high on them for that battle in that division with the Chiefs and the Broncos. Oronde Gadsden-Joe's outstanding,
dude. Outstanding
fantasy sleeper. He has come
Oronde Gadsden, come on the podcast.
Yes.
I know you're listening.
Yes, absolutely. They got a lot of weapons with that offense. Justin Herbert, I'll still say, albeit the stats maybe aren't there, I think Manish will agree with me on this one that he would take Justin Herbert over Daniel Jones. And I like what the Chargers are doing. I'll take Harbaugh and Herbert over Steichen and Jones when it comes to going against that Steelers defense all day. I expect them to have some answers for that Steelers defense. So give me the Chargers -3, lock of the week. And I'll toss it over to you, Joe.
All right. So I'll start, I guess. Let me start here. I'll start with Minnesota +3.5 at home versus the Ravens. I love a home dog. I think the Ravens still aren't in perfect form here. I think the Minnesota is starting to come on now, with some players getting healthy there. So give me Minnesota +3.5 at home. Like I said, I love a home dog. I don't believe in the Baltimore whatever they got going on there, but I'm not sure if I would take this as a pick 'em. I don't know if I would be picking Minnesota. I see this as like a grinded out like 17-14 win for the Ravens. So I expect Minnesota to cover there. Seattle -6.5 at home versus the Cardinals. Divisional matchup. Got a backup quarterback who did play well Shout out to Jacoby Brissett. He got the start. That was a Sunday night game or Monday night game?
Monday night.
He got the start on Monday night and ended up pulling the upset. I don't know. We're a pro Jacoby Brissett podcast. I think I said before he's like watching paint dry playing quarterback, but he is a great guy, upstanding citizen, great teammate, all that stuff. Put all that together, roll it really tight, really tight, and shove it, because I'm going with the Seattle Seahawks -6.5 at home with some new additions. They're juiced, they're moving. Sam Darnold's playing well, so give me laying 6.5. And then let me get to my lock of the week. Ready to get away from a terrible loss, or not terrible, but a loss to a decent team in the Steelers. Give me Indy -6. That's my lock of the week. I just expect the team to play better. I was just looking at it. Jonathan Taylor only had 6 fantasy points, so bottling him up. I don't really see Indy looking that kind of disjointed 2 weeks in a row. So, yeah, give me Indy -6 as my lock. That line keeps moving too, so don't hold me to that if you're listening to this. What do you got, Manish?
Oh, yeah. Let me preface my picks by saying that this is like a little inside between the tackles information here. But before we got on air, Burg offered me the Patriots if I wanted to take them as one of his picks. Waxing poetic about his Patriots, he's willing to dump them for God knows who. Okay, my picks. 2 games that I disagree with Burg on, so let's just start with Steelers-Chargers. Steelers coming off that big win against the Colts, and Daniel Jones sucked, but there's a reason why he sucked. He didn't just suck against air. There was actual defense playing against him, so you got to give the Steelers credit. The Chargers, who as you guys know, I was very high on entering the season. They struggled against the Titans with a 3-point game entering the fourth quarter before the Chargers pulled away, won by, I guess, 10 or so, 7, whatever it was. They still have no semblance of a running game. So I think even though this game technically is in prime time in LA, I think you'll see more of a partisan Steelers crowd. The Steelers fans and Green Bay Packers fans travel like no other. Chargers don't really have devout fans, so don't be surprised if this has got a Steelers home game feel to it. So I'll go with Aaron Rodgers. Burg hates them. I'm much higher on them, and again, I just think that the Chargers have been a little bit too shaky for my liking. So I'll go with Pittsburgh getting 3 points, 3-point underdog for a de facto home game in my estimation. I'm also going against him on Monday night. Packers. Give me the Packers -2.5. Yeah, I know they lost Tucker Kraft, but they have a pretty good other tight end that Burg will get into later. And Christian Watson is back. We'll get into that a little bit later as well. But I think he can be a weapon for Jordan Love, who I'm not particularly high on because of the mistakes that he's made. And Burg, you're absolutely right. Packer run defense was awful last week. Rico Dowdle looked like Tony Dorsett or Emmitt Smith. Actually, he's not on the Cowboys now. So, Stephen Davis. How about that?
Yeah.
A great former Carolina Panther running back. I think that the fact that the defense was so disappointing last week gives me even more confidence that they're going to bounce back this week. Bottle up Saquon Barkley, who had a good game before their bye week. Maybe he gets rolling, or maybe he reverts back to what he's been for most of the first 2 months of the season. So I think it's a nip and tuck game. If you believe in revenge, it's a revenge game from week 1 of last season when the Eagles won in Brazil. It's also the tush-push game. If you guys remember, the Packers were the team that technically put in the call to vote against the tush-push, even though the NFL was kind of behind it. But the team designated as the one who proposed eliminating the tush-push was the Green Bay Packers. So I wouldn't be surprised if you're going to see your handful of tush-pushes in this game. I think ultimately it'll be a fourth-quarter game. Give me the home team, and I'm happy, not ecstatic, laying the 2.5. And now my best bet of the week. It's a rematch from earlier this year, about 4 or 5 weeks ago. 49ers versus the Rams. The Rams got stuffed late in that game on 4th down. To to bring it back to the tush push, if they'd done a tush push instead of handing it off to Kyron Williams, I think they probably would have gotten the 4th down conversion, but they didn't. I just don't see Sean McVay losing to the same team twice in a month. I know they're division rivals. Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay know each other inside and out. But again, the Rams are just too good of a team to lose to the same team twice in about a 5-week period. Matthew Stafford, MVP candidate, over 20 touchdown passes, only 2 interceptions. That's on some kind of historic pace. I think there's only maybe 1 or 2 other guys in the NFL history that have done that to this point in the season. He's got 9 touchdown passes, no picks in the last 2 weeks. He's playing every bit like the MVP. And we'll see what Puka Nakua's availability is. Bagged up his ribs last week. We'll see as the week goes on whether he's going to be available. I would tend to think that he would be. They're just an explosive offense. They're hitting on all cylinders, to use a cliche that I hate, but they are on fire. One of the best teams, if not the best team, and we'll get into that later, in the NFL. I like them, and I have no problem laying the 3.5 points on the road.
We're going to have one of us is going to be happy. One of us isn't after this week there, Manish. We got, I'm kind of disappointed in both of us that we're going to, none of us picked the lock. None of us picked the lock against each other this week. I was a little disappointed in that, both of ourselves. So shame on us.
Yeah.
Ready to move on to the rankings there, Joe?
Yeah, dude, this segment is going to be an absolute disaster. I'm just gonna put it out there right now.
Oh, I'm right there.
We had a lot of movement in the in the top 5. I think all top 3 teams lost. And then we gave the Chiefs a shake, and then they just promptly laid an egg. I don't know what to say here. Somehow the Pats aren't in here. Gosh darn it. But
don't even get me started.
Why, Burg? You have a problem with that?
Oh, dude, this debate on this ranking was the most contentious debate that we've had to date since we started doing this segment. And
dude,
I basically threw my hands up and said I'm outvoted.
You double tap and underline all caps on the iPhone keyboard, you're going to war, dude. Dude, as soon as you get that all caps text, I'm like, ladies and gentlemen, we got him, dude.
Dude, that's all you got to do is to get the bait. I mean, we've been talking about the Patriots as honorable mention on this list for 6 weeks, and they're
on my list for 2.
Oh, whatever. I'm just throwing a number out there. They've won 6 straight, and we're not even talking about them seriously being in contention on this list.
No, we had him 3 weeks in a row in audible mention. 3 weeks in a row with a win.
Every time.
Anyway, I'm not crying over spilled milk there. I do think the Patriots are a top 10 team. Don't think they're a top 5 team right now. A lot of holes there, playing well anyway. So do you guys want to work from the bottom to the top? Let's work from the bottom. Who wants to go with the Broncos? I'll go with the Broncos. I like the Broncos. All right. Burge, I'm going to make you talk about the Bills next.
No, I'm not doing that. No way. I was outvoted.
No, I think we talk about coach quarterback combo all the time. I think this team is lacking in one. They make up in the other. I think Sean Payton is putting on an absolute masterclass this year. He has Bo Nix being decisive with the football to keep them, making sure they don't turn it over. I think Manish, you said before the podcast started, won 6 games in a row. They're, for lack of a better term, firing on all cylinders. So I like the Broncos at 5. I think they're honestly long overdue in the top 5 conversation. Manish, what do you think about the Bills?
Yeah, I think the Bills are in the top 5, whereas one of the teams that they lost to, the Patriots, are not, for good reason. The Bills just beat the Chiefs, and as you said, Joe, we were really throwing bouquets at the Chiefs last week as potentially the best team in the NFL, and they beat them. You got to give them credit. They beat the Panthers, who are much better than any of us thought they would be entering the season, handily the week before. So I think they're well deserving of a top 5 ranking. It's tight. It's not like the Bills are a lot better than these other teams who didn't make the list, including the Patriots. But I do think that they are better. They've got the best player among any of those teams that we're discussing at quarterback in Josh Allen. And I don't know how much higher they can rise. they're going to beat up on the Dolphins in all likelihood this week. The real test, in my estimation, comes in 2 weeks when they host the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That'll be a really nice test. So I'm not really sure how much movement can actually happen after what I expect to be a blowout win against the Dolphins, especially since the Dolphins kept it close earlier this year. All the more reason to think that this game won't be competitive. But again, beat the Chiefs, the team that all of us were in agreement was one of the top 2 teams, if not the best team in the NFL. They beat him. You beat a team like that, and you're 6-2. You deserve to be in the top 5.
Yeah, and I think, dude, the thing with how much do we talk about Coach? Dude, they have the best quarter. They have the second best. They have 1A. They have the second best quarterback in the league. I think if we're pumping the tires on the Patriots so much, and then like those 2 losses for the Bills, one bad loss for the Falcons, and then a tough loss to the Patriots at home, like cleaning up on against the other 6 teams. Like, I think they, with their personnel, especially with Josh Allen as the reigning league MVP, like, I think they do deserve a top five spot. Will I be betting on them come January? Absolutely not. But Burge, who do we have at number 3?
We got the Eagles at number 3. I just got done talking about the Eagles. Their team, like you and I, Joe, were talking about them quite a bit at the beginning of the season, because knock them off, and then we'll have a conversation about it. And they did get knocked off this list for quite a bit, but they've played well enough coming back after they had their 2-game losing skid to the Broncos and the Giants. They're coming off basically a big win against the New York Giants for the second matchup between those two. Followed off a pretty tough win against the Vikings the week before. So they just made some significant acquisitions for their defense, which I think we can all agree was their weak point. Going into this trade deadline, where we wanted to see them add, and they're still, you say what you want about Jalen Hurts and the offense, they still are immensely talented, and are, we saw Saquon Barkley come back, have a monster game, and after being dormant for quite a bit, it's really, they start taking off again, and then they climb. And I think they're very much deserving to be ahead of the Buffalo Bills, who, in my opinion, are on the outside looking in on this list. I'm not going to rehash it. You're going to trigger me on it again, but yeah, I think that the Eagles are really deserving of this, and are going to be a fight come January especially for this next team, who, despite losing, we still have the Lions at number 2. Lost a tough divisional matchup to the Vikings at home. They're primed for a rebound this week against the Commanders, who are now without Jaden Daniels. Again, a team that is immensely talented. They just locked up Aiden Hutchinson a little bit ago to a long-term contract. Well deserving there. Absolute stud on that defense. And I talk about the Lions all the time. I love their offensive personnel that they have. And, there was a lot of concern about Ben Johnson leaving that offense and what it was going to look like. And they've kind of have shut everybody up. I mean, just the talent alone with the 2-headed monster running back, the I'll call it even a 2-headed monster receiver. And then you add in the tight end, Sam Laporta. I mean, the sky's the limit for this team. I'm really, if my Patriots are not going to be winning a Super Bowl, which they are not this year, I want the Detroit Lions. They deserve it. They deserve it over those whack jobs up in Western New York. So give me Detroit at number 2. Who's our number 1 team?
Dude, I've been all over this team for I don't know how long. I love it. The SoCal vibe, the Cali cool vibe, everything that comes with it. Give me the Rams as the number 1 team right now. I don't think there's a stronger case record-wise, strength of schedule-wise, roster-wise. I think, Manish, you touched on it in your picks that Puka Nacua got banged up again. He's a gamer. I don't see him getting sidelined for a long period of time. I don't know. He always seems to be banged up, but always seems a way to make it work. And every other game, he's going for like 10 receptions and 150 yards. The Rams drafted well on defense recently. They've had a resurgence there. Matt Stafford and Sean McVay. That's one of the best coach quarterback combos in the league. Probably the best one in the NFC right now. I don't know. I could keep waxing poetic forever. I think the way that they transformed this team from a load-up, front-running trade every pick for anybody you could find, the corpse of Bobby Wagner and whatever. Like you had that version of the Rams, and then you have a version of the Rams that methodically kind of rebuilt this thing from the middle of the draft and did like a really, really good job surrounding Matthew Stafford with some legit guys. I mean, you draft Puka Nacua, you go out and you get Devontae Adams. And you have a plethora of talent all over that team. So give me the Rams record, roster, and forecast wise. Yeah, give me the Rams #1 team in the league.
They have right now, if you're going to put a gun to my head to make me pick an MVP, I'm picking Matthew Stafford. I mean, Drake May's right there. So was Josh Allen. Patrick Mahomes took a hit, but like Matthew Stafford has been on another level this year. Only two interceptions. He's been on another level, and he has gotten the Rams right to the spot. And Joe, you were on it first, man. You've been on them all year.
Yeah, no. Sometimes you got to take a victory lap because the victories are so far infrequent in between that I need to just jump on lane 4 and just take my lap when I can. But we're not done here, folks. Manish, let's enter the fantasy sleeper portion of the podcast. What do you got for me this week?
Well, we talked about Tucker Kraft not being around, so Jordan Love's got to throw the ball to somebody. Romeo Doubs has been a staple for him. Matthew Golden had a few flashes, but he's banged up. I don't know what his availability will be this week against the Eagles. Regardless, I like Christian Watson. Watson's a guy who came back 2 weeks ago, had 4 targets, over 80 yards, had 4 more targets last week, about 60 yards. He's just ramping up. There's a vacuum for targets, obviously, now that Tucker Kraft is gone, and they do like to spread the ball around. Watson's a player that Jordan Love's familiar with, and when healthy, really a quality option. So, if you're looking to start somebody, pick up somebody in what is a killer bye week, and this is, 6 teams on bye week, whatever it is, this is an opportunity to get a guy on the cheap, somebody you can just pick up off the street who can get you some points. I think, as I mentioned, maybe not in this podcast, but certainly in previous podcasts, the Eagles secondary is complete trash. Jacorian Bennett may be back. He's not very good. Keely Ringo shouldn't be on the team. Adoree Jackson got banged up. He stinks. They just traded for Michael Carter. I don't even know if he's healthy yet, but he primarily plays in the slot. Their corners are awful. I think this is an opportunity for Jordan Love to take advantage of the talent he has at the wide receiver position. And now that Tucker Kraft is out of the equation, I think that Christian Watson, even though he's not a tight end, is a guy who can fill that vacuum and that void and put up pretty quality numbers for the remainder of the season.
I'm sticking with the Green Bay Packers with this. I'm sticking with the tight end position, and I'm going to take Luke Musgrave as my fantasy sleeper. Jordan Love has shown that he's loved throwing to tight ends this year, obviously specifically Tucker Kraft with 44 targets, second on the team behind Romeo Doubs. Former second-round pick, hasn't really gotten started with the team in his time there, but this is a prime opportunity for him to step up. If you need a tight end to fill during this brutal bye week, for example, if you got Travis Kelce on the bye, you need a filler. Luke Musgrave could plug right in and come right in and kind of take the league by storm. Jordan Love has shown that he loves throwing to the tight ends. Obviously, for the Packers, losing Tucker Kraft is a massive loss for their offense. Manish, you kind of already touched on the receivers with Matthew Golden. Christian Watson, I know in a lot of dynasty leagues may already be taken. So if you need another Green Bay piece to fit into your lineup, I think Luke Musgrave is the guy.
All right, so you guys know how good I am at this. I was literally in the group chat like an hour ago asking Manish and Burg to talk me off the ledge here. I'm gonna keep it simple. I've learned early in my life the acronym KISS: keep it simple, stupid. Emphasis on the stupid in this scenario. But I'm going to stay at home here. Terrell Jennings, dude. Terrell Jennings had a lot of touches yesterday, had a lot of touches on Sunday for the Patriots. If you were paying attention, if you were watching the game, you saw that when the Patriots went to salt the game away in the fourth quarter, Terrell Jennings was the one on the field over second-round pick Travion Henderson. Also on the goal line, I saw him getting all the touches on the goal line, as Travion Henderson is more of I would say a home run hitter, scat back kind of type, kind of taking those Ramondre Stevenson, bell cow kind of type of carries. So I don't think Terrell Jennings is the guy who's going to go out there and get you 18 carries for 100 yards and 2 touchdowns, but I definitely think he could be a kind of player who's a plug-and-play guy, 10 carries, maybe 40, 50 yards and a touchdown, trying to get you through a big bye week. But dude, I'm so bad at fantasy, so this is just like what'll happen, dude, is I'll give out these picks and like Oronde Gadsden does great. Terrell Jennings has 3 touchdowns versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, wins the game for him. Neither on my effing teams, neither helping me do anything, losing hundreds of dollars to my friends, getting made fun of in any group chat I open. So it's like, yeah, great. Yeah, Joe gives out some great sleepers on that damn podcast, but holy F does his fantasy team stink.
This is a safe space.
This is the least safe space on earth. What are you talking about?
I have a friend who he always jokes with me. He said he usually says, "Which person on your fantasy team are you going to pick to be your fantasy sleeper of the week?" To which I typically respond, "I'm recommending these players and picking them up myself. Thus proving that I actually believe in what I'm saying." So maybe Joe, you should start some of the players that you're telling other people to start.
Yeah, well, dude, I'm like, I have this one like throwaway league that like I picked him up in and like scored a bunch of points. I still lost. He had like 30 points the other week. I still effing lost. Picked him up. Then this week I left him in. Mark Andrews goes off for like 25 points. I can't win. I have Zach Ertz, Freiermuth, and Hawkinson, and whatever 2 are on my bench in my dynasty league go off, and then whoever starts doesn't see the effing ball, dude. I started Zach Ertz, friggin' Jaden Daniels loses an arm, and Pat Freiermuth has two weeks in a row with multiple. I hate fantasy, dude. I hate it so much. It's like the Casey Affleck Dunkin' Donuts Saturday Night Live skid. F you, I'll see you tomorrow. That's literally me in fantasy, dude. I hate it so much, and I'm like first to pay league fees every year. I'm like, I can't wait. Anyways, boys, any thoughts? Any remaining thoughts on Week 9? Any look ahead thoughts to Week 10?
Wait, when my New England Patriots pick hits, get ready for me to come in for the top 5 talk. After what we went through this week, I'm gonna be on a soapbox.
No, that's gonna be a fun game. I mean, the Monday night game, Packers Eagles, obviously will be entertaining, unless you've got YouTube TV, but that's a different discussion for a different time. But the Bucks and Patriots game is going to be I hope it's something close to what we saw earlier in the year between Seattle and Tampa. We had 2, really good youngish, mediocre-ish quarterbacks, and Baker and Sam Darnold going at it. Seeing Baker versus Drake May to me is going to be the highlight of Sunday for sure.
Go ahead.
Go for it.
Go ahead.
Dude, I'm just excited for like a good, like big. This is like, yeah, the Bills game was the Bills game, but that was like, oh, upstart Patriots. Like maybe we can lose by less than a touchdown in Buffalo. Yay. And we go in and effing win and take them down. You know what I mean? And now we've been on this roll. The expectations for the Patriots now, they're going on the road to a hostile environment versus another MVP candidate. Dude, this is like when the Pats used to go to Indy when they were like 14-0 and like Peyton Manning had like 94 touchdowns and 0 picks. And like he used to have those, remember that the goal line stop by Willie McGinnis in like, what was that, 03, and then the Bethel Johnson kickoff return touchdown. And then like there's so many of these big games that happened that you remember mid-season, and like I'm just so excited that finally after 2 years, sorry Jets fans, 2 long years of being horrible, dude, we have a legitimate litmus test. Like you have expectations, you're on the road, you just squeaked one out last week, you have a bunch of stuff to clean up, you're going against a team that's well rested on a bye, getting pieces back, who also is a playoff team with expectations. Like this is finally I cannot wait for Sunday.
It is going to be amazing to hear Jim Nantz and Tony Romo call a Patriots game. First time in, I think, since what, 2022?
I don't have to listen to the 4th McCourty brother on like the back page of CBS, dude.
I'm looking for. I wanted to replicate the feeling I had watching that game in Buffalo, like where it's finally like we're getting that time where you can actually watch a game and not be like, oh, this is. I'm kind of watching it and just like not into it. Like I was into that that Sunday night game, and I want to replicate that feeling while watching this game. I
was running around my living room.
Yes.
And they were playing the Falcons this weekend. Like, we're so, dude, got a young quarterback playing well, accused of cheating, defensive-minded head coach. We are so back, dude. The Patriots, we are in mid-2000s, mid-aughts form right now.
Absolutely. It's a great feeling. And like you said, sorry, Jets fans, because it's been a while.
Yeah, we suffered through we had 8 wins in 2 seasons, and I wanted to riot.
They can match that Sunday.
I wanted to burn
season.
the phallic symbol that Bob Kraft erected in our faces without spending on his team. I wanted to burn it to the ground. But now we're back. All right. That has been it. That was the Week 10 edition of the Between the Tackles podcast. Joe, Burg, and Manish alongside as well. We will catch you next week. Goodbye.
Peace.